Bad games sometimes make significant changes and take huge risks to try to remain part of the conversation. Some succeed while others fail, but all for better or worse went big and either went on or went home. Believe it or not, there was once a time when Fortnite wasn't making money hand over fist. Before Epic's popular shooter started pulling in millions of dollars a day, back when there was no Battle Royale or Battle Pass, it was a boring old survival title. You harvested materials during the day and built defensive structures against monsters. It seemed Fortnite was destined to fade into obscurity rather quickly. But then something happened. The developers at Epic Games saw another title called PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds doing rather well, and they mimicked its Battle Royale mode in Fortnite. The rest is history. Fortnite quickly became the most popular Battle Royale title on the market. The rapid building aspect of Epic's game added a new feature to the genre. Once the streamers started playing, Fortnite's audience multiplied exponentially. Soon, Epic dug into its seasonal model and made every day worth logging in for. Fortnite took off and never looked back. The massive popularity of Turtle Rock Studios' Left 4 Dead is why so many thought the company's Evolve would become the next big thing in multiplayer gaming. Unfortunately, Evolve was a massive dud, but not for lack of trying. Evolve launched in February 2015, hoping to make the asymmetrical multiplayer genre a new staple. Evolve actually sold relatively well, moving 2.5 million units. The bad news came in the form of the game's player count. While millions bought it, few stuck around. Evolve quickly had to make a move to bring in more players. The folks at 2K and Turtle Rock tried free-to-play in July 2016. It didn't work, leaving the fate of Evolve uncertain until September 2018. At that time, Evolve shut down its servers, killing off a title that 2K said would be part of a permanent franchise. Word on an Evolve 2 is yet to circulate, so the property may be truly dead. Most popular games get sequels. They usually arrive while the original game is still popular. That wasn't the case with The Culling though. Despite coming from fairly unknown developer Xaviant, The Culling was a widely played Battle Royale game that seemed to be going places until PUBG and Fortnite entered the picture. After that, things got very bad for The Culling, and Xaviant needed a hit fast. The answer? The Culling 2 was a far worse game than its predecessor and barely had enough players to fill a match. Those few still playing the original game shunned the follow-up outright, forcing Xaviant to make another drastic move.
In July of last year, we launched a new game called The Culling 2, and it was a total disaster.
Xaviant tried to mend fences by removing The Culling 2 from stores, stating it would make The Culling a free-to-play game, but the damage had already been done. The Culling servers were eventually pulled offline in May 2019, and Xaviant didn't even bother to renew the game's domain name, signaling that this one was officially dead. Long before Media Molecule's Dreams hit the scene, those on the Xbox side had a game creation engine of their own. Project Spark promised big things. There was just one problem. The Xbox One had an atrocious launch, and this overshadowed most of the games released at that time. Microsoft really tried to make Project Spark work. The title was originally fueled by microtransactions, but Microsoft later pulled these to give creators all that content for free. Microsoft also added some Conquer content to Project Spark. None of it was enough to make Project Spark stick, however. Once Microsoft realized the title was a lost cause, it cancelled future Conquer content and cut online services, which meant creators could no longer share their games with others. Project Spark can still be used in a very limited capacity today, but it seems few are putting in the effort.
Really? Where's the rest of your game?
The Elder Scrolls is arguably Bethesda's most important franchise. You can play these games on PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. There's even a version adapted to work with Amazon's Alexa.
Alexa, play Skyrim.
You're level 57 and see a tall snowy mountain.
With all that love, you'd assume anything with the Elder Scrolls name would be a slam dunk. Not so fast. The Elder Scrolls Online would like a word with you. The Elder Scrolls Online had problems from the get-go. For starters, it was developed by ZeniMax Online Studios, and just didn't have the feel of your typical Elder Scrolls title. Then the game launched at a full $60 price point, with a monthly subscription tacked on. You can see where things started to fall apart. Fortunately, Bethesda knew a serious shakeup was needed. After some rough early days on the continent of Tamriel, the Elder Scrolls Online dropped the monthly subscription in favor of later DLC. Over time, the base price dropped as well. This helped bring in some more players, forming a community which is still very much alive to this day. You may think of Final Fantasy XIV as a fairly successful MMORPG, but that wasn't always the case. In fact, when the game first launched in 2010, it was a genuinely underwhelming experience. It wasn't until Naoki Yoshida took over production duties that Final Fantasy XIV began to come together. Over the next few years, the team at Square Enix basically rebuilt Final Fantasy XIV entirely, improving upon everything Yoshida felt didn't meet his standards. When the game was re-released in 2013, A Realm Reborn was added to the title to let everyone know, hey, this is a brand new game. You have to take your hats off to Yoshida for having the guts to take on such a huge project. He felt Final Fantasy XIV would be better for it, and judging by the game's success, he was right. Now, consider the auction house in Diablo 3. Blizzard saw players using outside channels to trade and sell weapons and armor, and thought that an in-game solution should exist. Was Blizzard going to skim some money off the top? Sure, but players would ultimately benefit in the long run, right? Not so much, as Blizzard learned. It seems the studio forgot why players grind for gear in the first place. It's about the sense of accomplishment as much as it is the look. Players did not appreciate seeing gear being sold off to the highest bidder, as they felt it disrespected the time they put in to earn items legitimately. As a result, Blizzard caught a whole lot of heat. This could have been a make or break moment for Diablo 3, but Blizzard decided to remove the auction house from the game entirely. To say Halo the Master Chief Collection was broken at launch is a gross understatement. The bundle of Halo titles had a whole host of server issues when it arrived. Players couldn't get into matches, and the bouts that did start up were unreliable at best. The developers at 343 Industries, who took the Halo reins from Bungie, decided to take drastic measures to keep players on board. Halo 3 ODST, a game that doesn't even have Master Chief, was added for free for early adopters as a way to make amends, and 343 got to work on improvements to Halo MCC. There's a good chance you might not have Halo the Master Chief Collection on PC, had 343 not bungled the game's initial launch. That set the studio on a path toward making the package as amazing as possible, with new builds and features flying in on a regular basis. It's possible that all of this worked out for the best in the end. Wow, did Assassin's Creed Unity ever leave a stain on Ubisoft's record? The title wasn't very well received at launch, but the PC version got criticized for a bunch of technical problems. Technical glitches made faces that seemed ripped from a nightmare, and the game performed like a last-gen title in some places. It was not a good showing. The folks at Ubisoft took the criticism to heart, however. The CEO of Ubisoft Montreal, Yannis Malot, even weighed in to say, quote, the game was diminished by bugs and expected technical issues. Ubisoft had to do right by its fans, and so it came up with a solution. Those who purchased Assassin's Creed Unity would automatically get the game's first DLC for free. Anyone who purchased a Season Pass also received one of several Ubisoft games for free. These freebies came with the hope that Ubisoft would take its time with the Assassin's Creed franchise going forward. And fortunately, the company did just that. After Syndicate came out the following year, Ubisoft took a year off before coming back with Origins and Odyssey, arguably two of the best games in the series. The content drops in Destiny 2 weren't always easy to understand or obtain. After you purchased the base game, things got a little wonky. The next year's expansion would require you to buy the previous year's Season Pass, and sometimes Bungie didn't bundle it all together into one helpful package. Needless to say, many players disappeared, as catching up was prohibitively expensive. That all changed when Bungie separated from longtime Destiny publisher Activision. The studio wanted to switch its DLC approach to help preserve its player base. When the Shadowkeep expansion arrived in October 2019, that change finally came. From Shadowkeep forward, players would only be required to buy expansions in order to stay up to date. The quarterly seasonal content drops would not be required, but would only cost $10 each if players did want to join the fun. That's a whole lot easier to comprehend, and thus far, it seems the model has been working very, very well. You're probably well aware by now, but Anthem has serious issues. The game was seemingly rushed out the door without a satisfying gameplay loop, and numerous promised updates were either late or underwhelming when they arrived. It's possible Anthem has permanently tainted the good name of BioWare, which had previously earned heaps of praise for its original Mass Effect trilogy. These days, however, faith in BioWare has faded as Anthem's continued on in a very poor state. However, it looks like BioWare might take a page out of the Final Fantasy XIV playbook. BioWare blogged that they were actively working to reinvent Anthem's core gameplay. This rebuilding process is part of a project that hopes to bring the title back up to snuff as a sort of Anthem 2.0. It's entirely possible BioWare's Destiny-like title can't be saved, and the studio's resources will be better spent making sure Dragon Age 4 is as good as it can be. Then again, some would have said the same about Final Fantasy XIV. There's no word on when Anthem 2.0 will arrive. Hopefully, it launches before players tune out entirely. Bethesda already gave one of its key franchises an MMO with The Elder Scrolls Online. It only made sense then that Fallout would get an always connected world of its own. Enter 2018's Fallout 76, which Bethesda hoped would win hearts just like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 before it. The reality, though, was much more of a disappointment. One of the biggest issues gamers had with Fallout 76 was its lack of human NPCs. Once a staple of the Fallout franchise, these non-playable characters had essentially been traded out for robots, which made Fallout 76 a lot less exciting. Bethesda recognized this grave mistake and promised an update called Wastelanders would bring the humans back. The question is, will anyone care? Fallout 76 is widely considered to be a bomb at this point, with a very small but devoted player base. If the game can hold on until Wastelanders arrives on April 14th, 2020, it's possible a comeback story could play out. It's also possible, though, that Wastelanders could fail to live up to the hype just as much as Fallout 76 has. If that happens, it would put the future of Bethesda's MMO into serious jeopardy. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SVG videos about your favorite video games are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.